This is Oh My God, episode 4. Alright. My name is Joey. This is Kian. Kian.
No. Kian?
But, it's kind of a wacky show. Chad interrupted, had a lot of things to say, which I like. I think that's kind of cool. I actually like the back and forth we're having, Chad. I still don't know who the fuck you are. He said I add you on Facebook, but there's a lot of people I've added on Facebook. I'm gonna let you know. But we're about ready to do this. Why? Because what is it? What does he believe in? Determination, or what is it?
Determinism.
Determinism. See, you knew that was coming because it's determinism. Ken read a little bit more up on it. This is pretty much my, I guess, theological show. I guess you could say. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start off with a prayer, and you can chime in whenever you want, Ken. Dear Lord, I hope this show does something. I hope it goes somewhere. I hope it's not just perceived as shock value, or I'm perceived as just trying to get ratings for this goofy little YouTube thing. Lord, I hope that there is a group out there that actually appreciates what we're doing, and it could be done for positive.
Dear Lord, just thank you that you got me and Joey here, and I just ask that you use me, Lord, that you use me to speak your truth, to speak the truth, to reach out, maybe help somebody that's out there that may need just someone to talk to, or somebody to just bounce some ideas off of. I just ask that you use me, and that whatever I do and whatever me and Joey do tonight is for your greater good and for your purpose. And I ask this in your name, amen.
Amen. I also want to go ahead and I guess give an invitation to you too, Chad. I'd like to have you come over on the show. I'd like to hear about your determinism. I like to be determined. I want you to determine to come down to determination, or whatever the hell it is. I can't say that word. Some people can say aluminum. Some people can say determinism. Anyways, but I'd like to invite you down to the show, unless you're afraid.
Huh.
I don't know.
I know he had a lot to say. I mean,
it's easy for people to hide behind keyboards. Not so easy when I'm with you. So do you think you can outsmart me and Ken? I don't know. I'm fucking with you a little bit, Chad. I seriously, I would like for you to come over. You seem like an intelligent person, and you know what? You've had a lot of good. I would say you've had some thought-provoking statements and questions. I'll say that much. With that said, we're gonna go ahead and answer. What was the first thing? What did the burning bush say to Moses?
The first thing he said, actually, I thought I knew the answer, but I actually dug into we dug into the Bible and went a little bit further. Actually, the first thing he said to him was Moses. But what I remembered was he said, I am who am. But he actually, as we read further in there, he said that when Moses was asking, who do I tell the people, or my flock? Who do I tell said this to me? And that's when he said, tell him I am who am sent you.
I think it's in Exodus 3, 4.
3. It's 3, and it's in Exodus 3:3 is where, or 3:2 to 3:3 about the Moses. And it's not that I had my Bible memorized. We just looked at this. That's why I know. And then 3:14 through 15 is where.
Although I do have a lot of shit memorized, so don't get yourself twisted.
I've gotten verses memorized too, but I don't want to represent that I'm something that I'm not. So I'm not a walking Bible. So we did look at it and did.
I'll just say that I'm good, but I'm not great. And I think Ken can toot his own horn. I would say Ken would rock an A- without me having to think twice on it, on the whole Bible knowledge. I'm pretty confident I'm a B+, A- myself.
You're always learning, though. You know what? No one knows that thing backward and forwards. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
It doesn't matter. I mean, you know what? And it's all relative, too. It depends on, you know what? Yeah, some of the lay people, I would. But, you know, if you get into some of these theologians, they would put me to shame. So, I mean, I'll say I know a lot, but I can always learn more.
I'm going to break down what the whole burning bush thing says. Because I know a lot of times when I was younger, I heard, the bush said, I am who I am, Popeye the Sailor Man. And whatever it is that... And I'll think, well, I don't get this whole thing, you know, why, what, where. What the bush was doing is, God is such an almighty image, you can't see him. You physically can't look at him. And even when he went before Moses, he scared the shit out of him. Moses didn't even want to look at him. He had to come before like an object, like he had to pick like a burning bush. And he was telling him, like, you know, who he was, basically. And he said, okay, tell the people this. The people of Israelites, all the ites, the Hittites, Israelites, termites, and all those ites out there. And he's like, well, look, check it out, God. I'm doing this just basic Joey language. So, God, check it out. So who do I tell him sent me? Tell him. And what was the line?
I am who am.
And he's basically telling him, like, look, I am your father's 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 father. You know, I am the big guy, basically.
I'm the God of Abraham. I'm the, you know, basically.
So he just kind of broke it down. You know, tell him who I am. Don't be afraid. Tell him exactly who I am. So yeah, that was a burning bush. My question, I guess I'm gonna go with, is what was the first plagues of Exodus? What was the first plague? What's the first plague? Go ahead and answer that. Bring up the answer if you know what it is. And here's something. As far as, even though you read something and you know something, there's stuff you still go over. We're just talking about the snake tonight. Mm-hmm. And he told me made sense. It wasn't like, you know, like I was baffled. So as soon as I asked him, it's like he told me, he's like, oh, this makes sense. Because I was going to talk about evolution tonight. We still might. I don't know. That's a big one. But I said, you know, we both agree. I don't know if you know this. The snakes originally walked on legs. Like, full on walked. Okay, and I said, so by it going to its belly, is that an evolutional thing? Because in the Bible, in Genesis 3:14, it says you will crawl on your belly and eat dust. That was a curse of God, basically. Just like women are supposed to work for the man and have suffering and childbearing, and man is supposed to smash the head of the snake as a punishment, along with callous his hands from working to provide for his woman. And the woman's supposed to bleed, yada yada yada. You guys got it, you know. But you know, there's always stuff that you can just go over and go over and go over and go over. And I promise you, as many times as I read Genesis, and I know Genesis really good, I still find things where it's like, wow, let me think into this, because it all comes from the Torah originally. If I look down like this, it's just because I'm looking at my little key card over here. Evolution. Well, I think this is kind of taboo. I do believe in evolution, but I think God created evolution. I think it started from Him. You know, He's the main starter of the evolution. You know, there wouldn't be these sea creatures to debate about changing an evolution if there wasn't God to make an ocean for them to be in. You know what I mean? I don't know how man was able to chop it up and confuse it the way they did, but they are. Man's got a great way of screwing with God's creations and works and words. And my only thing I use for example of evolution is a couple things. I use the frog. Polywog, frog, where it stops. Long time ago, there used to be fish. Fish goes to a crust on the rock to evolving to a closed type clam type animal that eventually goes to a walking crab. So it's evolution. Am I sold on it 100%? No, I'm not completely solid. You know, I'm always up for someone changing my mind. That's not something I'm completely sold on. I do believe there is evolution. I mean, how would you explain the frog and polywog thing?
Well, that's more of a transformation, but I mean, I'm gonna agree with you on the evolution thing. You know what? yeah, what we have is biblical, but or what we go by is what's biblical.
Right.
But think about it. At one time, who was around to document the creation of the world? You know, God. That was the only one there. There wasn't man, because the Bible is basically inspired books. You know, books by written works by men. So, anyways, you know, what's to say that that God, you know, I know, you know, God claims to, or you know, claimed to create everything. What's to say that God didn't create evolution? That God didn't one day, you know, say, okay, yeah, I'll do it all in 7 days, but you know what? I'm gonna get here and I'm gonna start evolution. So it was initiated by God, and then He took a hands off and he let it evolve, and it happened. It was an accelerated evolution. So what's to say that that didn't happen?
You sound like a deist right now. Do you know what a deist is?
No.
Deism, which I love, was kind of like a big thing from Benjamin Franklin, who I love. I love Benjamin Franklin. That's my fat dog right there. But deism is deism. I can't say it. It's pretty much, think of like a watchmaker. The watchmaker made the watch, and now the watch's job is to continue doing it itself. The watchmaker doesn't come back to the watch and go, make sure that watch is going. If he's a good watchmaker, he will. But he just knows the engineering behind it. It's going to go. He just knows. Think of a tea kettle. You put the water in the tea kettle. You put it on the fire. You look at the tiny hole, and you know by the general engineering of it, it's going to hit steam and it's going to make a woo. You just know, because you're your god of your steam engine, basically. And that's what they believe in, basically, of life, where God set us to play, basically. He goes, all right, look, here. I'm off. Because we're just one blue fucking planet. Seriously, go look at the universe. There's so much out there. I mean, and for Christ's sakes, we know more about outer space than inner space. How weird is that?
Yeah, it's... Well, I mean, and also getting to what you were talking about, though. I mean, as far as the deism, I'm not saying that that's something that I support, that I necessarily agree in. I'm just saying anything's possible. You know what I mean? I wasn't there. You know what? There's no recorded. You know, there wasn't anybody to record it, because you know the man was the last thing. You know, that was, you know, or you know, he was created. So who was going to document that stuff? I'm just saying it's a possibility. You know, I mean, I think, you know, science, and this is actually probably go in kind of contradiction to Chad interrupted, kind of what the gist I'm getting you. I think you seem to think more that, you know, science is the end all be all. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that science is a good way. It's a good measuring stick. It's a tool that you use to kind of, you know.
It's a good way of looking at it.
To prove things. But you know what? And this is where, you know, it's something. You seem more kind of like an analytical guy to me, but I think that faith has something to do with it, and that's just something that I've learned through through religion, or I shouldn't say religion because that's it, but through, you know, God, or my studying of Christianity. That's just kind of where I come from. I believe in scientific, but I don't think that, you know, scientific can prove or disprove everything in this universe. I just don't. But like I said, I think it's a good measuring stick, and I think it's a tool we should use. But who's to say that God didn't start the ball? And I'm not God. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can only suppose. And most of the stuff that we do here is all supposition. You know what I mean? It's kind of, you know. I like to think that God's kind of working in my life and trying to guide me to truths. But you know what? At the end of the day...
Did you ever see yourself doing a religious talk show on the web with me?
No. But but anyways, you know, hey, you know what? God opens up doors to you and stuff, and you know what? It's you know, like I said, who knew? But yeah, but like I said, you know, I wasn't there, and you know what? A lot of the stuff that we're trying to understand as humans, you know, we got to realize that a supreme being put this all into motion. So I'm trying to take, you know, I'm trying to explain super, quote unquote, supernatural things, or super, you know, things that are above me in my words, when I may not even have the comprehension for putting it into words. You know, I mean, I think that's where a lot of scientists, get
drop the ball.
Well, they get arrogant. They think
they
that,
drop the ball,
they need to realize, they get arrogant and think, you know what, I can explain everything in this thing because you know what, I can even explain the person that created me, or the, I shouldn't say person, the thing that created me, or the being that created me. And I think that's sometimes I think that's you have to sometimes be humble and realize, hey, you don't have the answers for everything. I don't have the answer for everything. Nobody.
Chad interrupted. I'm going to tell you today, and it's by no surprise. I mean, it's predetermined. Who knows? But my lesson for my Tiger Scouts today was I had to talk to them about faith. And there's all kinds of religions and beliefs and whatnot out there, and I thought, how the hell am I going to talk about faith with all these Tiger Scouts without stepping on toes and have them getting what it's all about? And I think, wow. And I remember, like, and no offense to whatever my leader guy is, but he was losing the kids when he was talking about faith, because he's talking biblical, he's talking intellectual. But this is what I did. I'm not the brightest guy in the world. I pulled my kids over and I said, we've all saw Star Wars. This is what faith is. Yoda believes in the Force. He knows that things will work out with the Force. All the little things, little sayings he has, he said, are going to work right for the Force. And I told the kids, I said, remember when Anakin threw his temper tantrum? And remember, I'm talking to kids. I said, remember when Anakin threw his temper tantrum and he got angry? Is because he didn't have faith in the Force. And they all had the huzzah moment where they got it, And that's what it comes down to. So I'll ask you this, Chad. What is a scientific explanation of faith? Because faith does exist. This is a fact. But I want you to explain it in your own words, basically. How does science explain it? And I think that's what it comes down to. You have to have faith. When I was in the military, I remember I was in some nasty situations. I'd hold on my dog tag. I still got him to this day. Because this was pretty much my crucifix. I believed wholeheartedly in this. I had faith in a fucking pair of dog tags because I had nothing to believe in. I was, at best, an antichrist. I didn't like God one bit. I downright hated him. But the one thing I needed something to hold on to. When I was sad, when I was lonely, when I was angered, when I was in dangerous situations. So I held on to these and I had faith in these. So here's the reality. These is just metal. I lost them. I don't have them. Guess what? That means I'm fucked. I got no religion. I got nothing. But at the time I had faith in that. Okay? So everyone needs faith in something. This right here is just pretty much having faith in the show right now. I'd love to have you come down, and if you need a ride, I'll find a ride for you. So
yeah, the thing you haven't thought about is I don't know where Chad Interrupted's from. So he could be out of state. We're in California. I don't know where you're at.
Chad, are you in California?
Well,
are you at least around the L.A. Orange County area, around that area? Outside that area, I don't know. Maybe not, Chad. Maybe not. We're not making a trip to San Diego.
That's not that bad. But
you'd pick up Chad from San Diego if Chad was in San Diego?
Chad was willing to go. Yeah, I'm halfway to San Diego where I live, remember? I live out in the boonies.
There you have it, Chad. Hopefully though you'll have a car and you'll drive over, and hopefully you're a rich person and you'll pay for the coffee that night and the donuts. And
have we gone through the evolution? We discussed the stuff that you wanted to really discuss as far as the topic for this week?
Well, we're running out of time.
Well, the only reason why is because I've got a lot of stuff here from him that I wanted to kind of go over.
Well, let's go. Let's save it for the rest. You go. You take it.
Okay. I got your stuff here. This is kind of a direct answer. You're the only one that's kind of responded, so I'm going to kind of.
If it shuts off, it's not my fault.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of go with you and let you know. And I kind of wanted to take some of your stuff. I printed it out here. Look, and I know I've got you. This is what you think, that religion is an excuse for when life sucks. It's kind of an excuse to control a person being oppressed. I don't necessarily agree with that. Actually, I agree with the fact that religion is a lot of time used as a tool, and this is where you need to separate the two. There's a difference between a religion and spirituality, and when being with God. Religion, is often used as a tool to control people, and it's used, from Islam to Christianity.
Bad examples. Those are just bad apples, because I think religion is like a schoolhouse, and a pastor's like a professor.
Yeah. I mean, it's anything. You know what? And the thing is, I don't think that you believe what any man tells you. I mean, I try to live, not necessarily live my life. I try. We're all sinners. Nobody's perfect. But I try to use the Bible as my measuring stick. I don't really go by what a man tells me. But I think people out there, you get a lot of bad apples that are in there, and they twist it and they'll use it for their thing. But I mean, you know what? It's just like my problem with Catholicism is that I feel like a priest that's there is. They make it seem like you need them to get to God. I don't need any man on earth to get to God. I can get to God on my own. I mean, talk to him once one-on-one. I don't need to go through somebody to do that. I can do that on my own. So, I mean, that's kind of how I look at it as far as religion. I mean, I know you're a big guy in as far as scientific theories and proving things scientifically. It's one of those things where God can't necessarily be proven. I mean, you can see the evidence of him. You can come to an intelligent conclusion about it, but there's nothing you can't prove it in or out. I think that's where faith comes in, and that's something, at least as far as a Christian, when you give your life, you have this voice inside. You can call it a conscience, you can call it whatever you want, but you know what, my conscience it was different than what my conscience is, knowing that I'm trying to do what God wants me, what Christ wants me to do. It's a different sort of voice. And, that's something that's in me, and I'm a Christian, and I didn't know it before there, so I was ignorant of it, at one time in my life, and then and I knew when I walked away from it too, because there was a period in my life when I wasn't listening to that voice, and I still had a conscience. I still knew right and wrong. But you know what? I figured it wasn't, what I was doing wasn't hurting people, so it was all right. Even though I knew it was in direct opposition to what Christ had asked of me. So. And
this is for poor choice of words, but I would say for myself, you have to sometimes pick and choose. Like, for example, the honor your mother, honor your father. What if your mom is Lizzie Borden, your dad's Charles Manson? Obviously you're not supposed to honor them. You're not supposed to listen to them. So you have to pick and choose how it works and what works. When you look at it as like a generic, like, this is what I gotta do. All this shit was written back then. So I mean, you have to weigh it out. So I think science does play a role with the book.
No, I agree, and this is what I was gonna get to. I don't want to bore any other people, because and it's not what you said that was boring, but I know how a lot of people are. I found it fascinating. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't as familiar with determinism until you brought it up, and then I did a little bit of work and I looked. I definitely I'd heard of it before, but I wasn't exactly clear on it. So I did a little bit of investigation with it. And basically, I was going to give you. It's one of those things. I think you seem to work well on by yourself as far as investigating things. I want to give you a name. Ela Prigogine is I believe is how you say it. He was not a philosopher. He was basically a chemist, and he was a Nobel Prize winner as well. And basically, in 97, he basically, or most of his study, he wrote a book. The last one was called The End of Certainty. I think that would be something that would go. It's basically something that would. It's how can I put it here? His definition of he was using it for thermodynamics and.
Ken's cutting lines of cocaine. If you're wondering.
But anyways, basically, the end of certainty. I think that might be something good. It's basically where he said he contends that determination is no longer a viable scientific belief. where I agree with you, as far as the, in reading determination, that's what, Einstein, that's what, Newton, that's what they base their things on. But right, yeah, on all their postulates and hypotheses and stuff. What I think though is, I think we've have gone past that. We've actually grown past that, and I don't think determinism, although it was an interesting point, I think we've kind of disprove that now, and some of these things that I was reading on him, some of the excerpts and things like that, it seems like he makes a very, very good case for determination not being viable anymore. Science moves on. We get we've evolved. We get into the evolving thing, but we've evolved scientifically, and theories that at one time we took for for a law we've kind of surpassed. So I would start with something like that. If you like to read, I would try The End of Certainty. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be an ezy read for you, but I think that might be something that might challenge you a little bit and give you another side to the whole determinism. Because I'll just although it was very interesting, I don't agree with it, and like I said, I think you made a good argument. It's nothing personal. It's just something that I don't really buy into. I just don't. You could say that about anything. You could say, you know what? Well, hey, that was predetermined that I was going to do that. Well, it was a reaction. It was to show you that it wasn't. But you're saying, in fact, well, the fact I was trying to show you that it wasn't predetermined, it was predetermined. It's like, well, where does it stop then? I can make an argument for anything as far as that goes. So, anyways, I would try that. Ilya Prigogine is who I would maybe take a look at. It gives you another side to,
well, how does that play, argument. So. How would that play into the butterfly effect? Because they say that the butterfly effect, we haven't done it, but they say it's been proven that if you were to go back in time, shit would change. It doesn't matter what it is. You could sit in this chair, and if I had the button to go back to 1950, and I'd be in the same spot for like 1 second, and then I'd go back to the same fucking spot I'm sitting in right now.
But how do you prove that? That's all theoretical. You can't do it. So you know what? The fact that you can't do it, it's all theory. You can't prove that. There's not something you can or can't prove. Same thing as determinism. Really, there's no. And it goes for the other side, the non-determination. There's no really true way to prove it. It's not.
But how do they prove it? How do those scientists prove that shit?
It's all theoretical. I mean, there's actual scientific. The scientific method is you take you take something and then you do testing to prove it
on a smaller scale than bigger scale. Yeah.
Yeah, but you actually there's steps to test something to do it. To see what a reaction is and stuff. There's no way to really test it. It's all theory. But you know what? I mean, you can make the same argument about religion, that it's or spirituality or God. It's all theory, and you can make a case for that as well. But anyways, I didn't want to bore the rest of the people, but I really appreciated what you wrote on there. Hopefully, that's some stuff that you can take a look at, and answer your question. I'm not one. No one is to judge lest ye be judged themselves. It's biblical. You asked if you were going to hell. You know what? That's not my call to make. I know in the Bible, I can just tell you what the Bible says. It's, unless you ask the Lord Jesus into your heart and to take control of your life and actually be and try to live your life, at least, with some of them. We all sin. That's the determining factor for whether you're going to hell or not. It really is. I have a lot of really good friends that are not Christians, and I love them, but you know what? And I try to just, you don't want to browbeat your friends and force it down their throat, but at the same time, you know what? I have friends that, I'm going to miss if they're not in heaven with me, and the only way to get there's one way to get there. That's the only way.
All right, we have less than 1 minute left. Real quick, I have to interrupt.
Okay.
But real quick, I want to ask the audience out there: one, do you believe Jesus is a socialist? Give me your answer. I think so. I really think so. And hey, if you have a half an hour to kill, check this episode out. Episode 4. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
No. I'm good.
Oh my God, episode 4.